Hello there, everybody. I'm Mr. Gimpai. This is Let's Play Sonic Adventure Part 14, and today we're going to begin nothing.
Meanwhile, I'm over here, and I already finished fighting Perfect Chaos, so I guess I win the verses. Anyway, shall we continue?
There is no verses, Austin.
There's only Zool.
Oh, hamsters. So yeah, this is Big Story. Nobody cares about it, so for the most part we aren't going to be talking about the game while playing Big Story.
The only thing I'm going to say about Big, or the only two things rather, number one, his Dreamcast model was a lot fatter than his DX model. And
really?
Number two, his theme song is amazing. Okay, I've said everything I'm going to say about Big.
Technically I haven't said everything that I'm going to say about Big yet, but most of the stuff that I'm going to say is gameplay related, so we're not there yet.
Frog is cute. Frog eats tail.
Yes.
The end.
Yep. Frog gets rescued by ridiculous friend.
Ah, here we go. This theme, it's so good.
He really does have a good theme.
Mm-hmm.
If only he was a better character.
It's sung by, I believe his name is Tony Harnell. He's the same guy who sings... no, maybe actually this is done by Ted Poley. Yeah, this is Ted Poley. And the guy who sings Sonic's theme, It Doesn't Matter, in both this game and Adventure 2, was Tony Harnell, I believe. Tony Harnell and Ted Poley got together to sing City Escape. So, it all comes together, and it's beautiful.
By the way, you know the voice actor for Big was the guy that did Duke Nukem, right?
I think his name was John St. John?
Yeah, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently, he purposely forgot how to do Big's voice. So, we're not hearing Big anymore.
You know, it's funny, because Big, of all the characters, has actually had a voice for every generation of Sonic so far, as voice actors go. We got this guy for this game, and Heroes. And then we got another guy for Sonic X. And then we get another guy for Sonic Colors DS. It's fantastic.
Wait, he was in Sonic Colors?
DS. At least he was in the program files. I don't actually think you could select missions from him, but there is a line of some guy saying, "Thank you," and it's listed off as Big's voice.
Huh. But, yeah, Sega isn't planning on using this character anymore. Big is dead. It's dead.
Because he couldn't get enough fish.
Yep.
I mean, he got a fish for this entire game, so I guess that could only feed him for so long.
Yeah.
Teach a cat to fish. You'll feed him for the duration of the video game career.
So, you know, it's kind of crazy how most of the characters in the game start in Station Square.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, every character that we've seen so far starts in Station Square.
Yes.
There's only one character that doesn't.
The most
I wonder who he will be.
It's a mystery. It's not like we've seen him 4 times.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway,
you aren't
Big
gonna go get the light
starts-
dash?
What? Oh, well, we'll do that later. But, yeah, Big starts the game where he belongs.
A fitting start. I also love the fact that when the elevator closes on Big's tail, they went out of their way to give him a voice clip where he says, "Oh."
Yeah, except I don't think he says it in this version.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. That was in both Dreamcast and DX, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Of all the things for them to save room on the disc for. Or whatever.
Alright, now here's... Basically, this is the reason why, if y'all been around my channel for a while, then y'all might know that the time that I beat Perfect Chaos in Sonic Generations was the second time that I had ever beaten Perfect Chaos. And this is why. Because you see, the controls on this are completely ridiculous.
I wouldn't say so necessarily.
No, fish, no.
LNR
no.
at the same time.
Oh, that helps. I didn't know that.
Surprise.
But, yeah, basically, you gotta catch Froggy. He's over there. He's just chilling.
I would recommend LNR at the same time, yeah. No, this is quite torturous. You have my absolute condolences as I sit here and laugh at you for having to play this. Anyway.
Alright, but, oh, whatever, I'll catch it.
Fighting.
But you see, Froggy is different from every other fish in this pond, as far as I'm aware. Because you see, every other fish, they just like touch your reel, and then you catch them. And that's it. That's what I'm doing right now. There you go.
I think the bigger fish do struggle a bit, and then you just have to waggle the control stick around to get them to keep biting. You're still not casting far enough.
Oh well. No, Big will see it. Froggy will see it. Come on.
My name's Big because I'm
located
big, and he's Froggy because he's a frog.
Because yeah, you have to control stick mash after it's stuck. Okay, yeah. After Froggy touches his mouth on the line there, you have to mash the control stick in a couple directions for him to actually bite onto it. And for the longest time, I didn't know you had to do that. As far as I know, there's nothing in the game that tells you that.
The idea is that...
I couldn't get past Big's first level.
Actually, there is, if you, I believe it's when you're selecting the character you're going to play as, you actually can go to the instructions, which give you a basic rundown of the story, or whatever.
Okay, I know that I read those instructions, and I did not get that.
I'm pretty sure somewhere in Biggs it says something like, Froggy will only bite the line if he thinks the morsel is like basically, you need to prove to him that what he's biting isn't a hook thing, that he's used to Big apparently snaring his mouth with on a regular basis. You have to prove to him that it's alive, so you have to thrash around a bit because that's what something that you bite into would do. I think for some of the sharks you have to do the same thing, otherwise he'll just taste it and then leave.
Well, they did not make that clear at all.
I agree. Just as a kid, I used to think a bunch of things like that, like rotating the C-stick in chow races would make your chow run faster, which is entirely not true, but whatever.
So yeah, one last thing about Big before we start talking about random other things, is that he has the most power-ups of any character.
6.
Yeah. We've gotten 1 now. I'd say that all the power-ups are actually optional.
Yeah,
unless you want to do the extra missions.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, technically, they all make Big's story easier and less painful, so I would recommend getting them all, but they're not all mandatory, no. None of them are mandatory. There we go. Yeah.
I think that one is so in the way that it may as well be mandatory.
Yes.
And it's the one that we're about to run into. It's kind of the only one that actively helps you in a visible way.
Yes.
It's also one of the 2 that actually change Big's appearance in some fashion.
They actually do change the little hook thing on the end of his line, the 4 line power-ups. Now it's purple rather than orange, I think it was before.
Okay.
Might have been black. I don't know. I don't remember the colors, and I don't remember anything about them except for the fact that they do technically change his appearance. It's just so minor that really, who cares?
I mean, they don't even make a cutscene for it.
I think that's the funniest part, is that Tikal doesn't even consider Big worth notifying about 4 of his 6 power-ups. I mean, all she would really say is, use this to catch bigger fish. Which, I mean, we're going to hear just about as arbitrary of a hint in this upcoming level, but...
But dude, look at how fast Big climbs this ladder.
He's been playing a lot of Mega Man X8, or just 8, never mind. Shoot, screwed up the joke. No, we need to restart. Retake.
No, I'm not playing this game ever again after this. Alright, so that's where Froggy is, but we're going somewhere else.
Adventure.
That's what this game is. Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure, guys.
Sonic Adventure. It's the best Sonic game ever.
But yeah, this is the one level where Big actually has a level.
Oh my, you're actually exploring. I was gonna say.
Oh, whoa there, Big. You don't need to do that.
I think the only problem with being able to float like this in the water is that, like, it's really, first of all, a bit disorienting in a section like this. And second of all, in any other case, you'd be able to just jump out of the water. But Big can't do that. You have to, like, work with really awkward slope controls.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, now the camera died. Here we go.
This game is perfect. What are you talking about, Tom?
Are you sure about that, Austin?
I refrain from comment.
Are you really sure?
I refrain from comment. Ah!
Oh my gosh, Big's trying to walk on the ice. It's not working.
I don't think they even bothered trying with Big's physics. I love this. Anyway, what was that about us not talking about Big?
Well, we're about to stop.
Okay, then.
This is about the time whenever we run out of things to say. But yeah, Big is the only character that has a power-up in a level.
In this game.
Well, yeah. It's another lure power-up, because he needed another one of those. Oh my gosh, Big, what are you doing?
This game is flawless.
That's what you'd have me to believe.
In the Dreamcast version of this game, there was actually a really interesting graphical glitch where you would come out of the water and some of the springs, like the one we're seeing here, would actually be drawn as ring capsules. And for some reason, they programmed above the water to animate something different below the water. I don't know how or why they would do something like that, but it was apparently, they originally had it as 10 rings, but then when people had trouble getting out of the ice, they replaced those 10 rings with a spring to help you get out of the ice. And so in the Dreamcast version, you could sometimes look down, I believe it's that patch you're right next to now, and you would actually just see a 10 ring capsule that wasn't there.
And I have no idea how to get back to the main area.
This is it, right here, through that tunnel.
Alright.
This is also where you would see the power-up. Not this way. That tunnel
There
right
it is. Also, there are sharks, so that's fun. They don't
In
hurt
the water
Big.
with Froggy.
I guess this is the water level of the game.
Except every one of Big's levels is a water level. You know what would have been really interesting? One final thing on Big before I entirely shut up about him. Since they were willing to give him a power-up in one of his levels, and there are 4 power-ups anyway, and every one of his levels has a secondary area to go to, besides Twinkle Park, I would have actually really liked to see it so that every level has a lure power-up located in the secret area you can go to catch bigger fish. But for some reason they don't do that. Like Emerald Coast has that really cool cave area. Hot Shelter has that entire upstairs area that glitches out the game. For some reason, they don't bother putting the power-ups there. Instead, they put them in the most arbitrary places you could ever imagine.
Yay!
Like where Tails' power-up is, or where the Chow Egg is, or, yeah, nah.
And thus ends the relevance of Big the Cat.
Yes.
And thus begins the relevance of Kirby.
So Thomas, why don't you talk about your experience with Kirby, because I have virtually none, but I'm still more interested in this than...
Well, you see, Austin, Kirby's the best character ever.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, he's not just the best character ever, he's the best anything ever.
Mm-hmm. I'm
So,
contractually obligated to agree with you because I'm on your channel.
Yes, yes. So you see, if you compared Kirby with literally anything, he would come out on top. in literally every way.
Not gonna deny that.
Yep. So you know what would be really cool in the next Kirby game, Austin? If they had multiple playable characters.
You're talking like a new Super Mario, or sorry, yeah, actually, like a Super Mario World, or Super Mario 3D World type thing?
Yes.
It's like, yes. I could have just
Like
said Mario
if-
Brothers 2. Anyway, go on.
If they had, like, Kirby, Shadow Kirby from Kirby the Amazing Mirror, Gooey from Kirby's Dream Land 3, and Rick from Kirby's Dream Land 2, each with their own little abilities and different versions of copy abilities, I think that would be a very cool gimmick for a Kirby game.
I completely agree with this. And tell me about this game idea you have that I've never heard of before because we totally didn't pre-plan this. How would the power-ups work, or anything of that ilk?
Well, in general, I'd see Kirby as playing much like how he normally does, with having kind of the most standard version of each copy ability. So, like, Spark is just the shield, and Needle is a shield. Fighter, he has punches and kicks like regular, you know, just standard stuff. Then with Rick, he would be the land-based character. He's the fastest character of the group. He isn't affected by ice, and he's not slowed down by anything either. And he can also climb walls. And we just got another lure power-up.
What? What? I have no idea what you're talking about. Keep talking about Kirby, please.
Yeah. And after that, we have Gooey, who is kind of an exploration-based character. He uses his tongue to grab enemies, unlike Kirby, who uses his inhale to do so. And because of that, he can actually eat enemies while underwater.
Which is a really clever design standpoint from, what game was Gooey?
Dreamland 3.
There we go.
And, yeah. Gooey will be able to use the fact that he's made of goo to go through certain platforms, like, maybe like a sewer pipe. There's like a grate on it, which other characters are blocked by, but Gooey can just sort of squeeze through it.
I like it.
And Gooey can lash his tongue through certain walls as well, like they have a hole in them, and he can pull levers on the other side to activate new areas.
So he's more like the explorative type, rather than the able or capable fighter type?
Yes.
Not to say he isn't capable, mind you, just less capable than, say, Shadow Kirby.
Yes, getting to Shadow Kirby. He would be the offensive character. You see, Shadow Kirby is younger than Kirby, because he was literally a copy of Kirby. In Kirby the Amazing Mirror, Shadow Kirby wasn't able to use copy abilities as effectively as Kirby, to the point that he didn't even get hats whenever he had a copy ability, implying that he was about as skilled. Actually, he was probably less skilled than Kirby was back in Kirby's Adventure with his abilities. However, Shadow Kirby is effectively Kirby maxed out on evil, meaning that would probably be willing to do things that Kirby isn't with his copy abilities.
Talk to Tails, talk to Tails, talk to Tails. No. You're not gonna talk to Tails. Go on.
No. So, you know, Shadow Kirby's copy abilities would be big and powerful and flashy. So, like, the fire ability in most games where copy abilities have multiple moves, you can aim the fire ability, like, further forward or up and down. However, if you aim the fire ability back towards Kirby, he'll end up setting himself on fire, which is generally the most powerful attack in the game. And that would be Shadow Kirby's attack.
Would that do damage to Shadow Kirby himself, or...?
No, because that's another thing. I find that Shadow Kirby would probably be the character that can only fly for a limited amount of time, similar to Kirby 64. And he would have Kirby and the Amazing Mirrors inhale. So while he can inhale enemies that Kirby can't, because I see him only having his regular inhale, he would only be able to inhale for a shorter amount of time, as opposed to Kirby's infinite amount of time.
So he's literally just swallowing something rather than, like, actually, like, apparently having that infinite void open up in his non-existent stomach.
No, he is still inhaling, unlike Rick, who really just does swallow things.
Fair enough. I just mean more like the fact that, you know, we can breathe in, but we can't really, like, whoa, like Kirby.
Yeah. It'd be kind of like that. So anyway, yeah, that's the idea for the general gameplay mechanics.
Tell me more, please. I don't want to have to talk about the game again.
I don't know. Then we got your specific copy abilities. We got boss ability ideas. You know, just all sorts of crazy stuff.
Please go into it. We've got another episode and a half to fill.
Nah. How about you talk about something, Austin?
All right. Oh shoot. What do I talk about? My experience with Kirby in general is limited to like 4 games. I was able to play Kirby and the Crystal Shards, aka Kirby 64, for a while, but I never actually owned it myself. I love that game, but it is a little, I don't want to say slow or something like that, but it's not the fast-paced action that I get from the other Kirby games I've played, namely Air Ride, Epic Yarn, ironically enough, and Returns, which really Returns stands out to me. And I know you have mixed feelings on Returns, but Returns to me is a very I don't know, even if it's not what you would consider a good Kirby game, or like I should say one of the best Kirby games, because most Kirby games are good.
Oh yeah,
it's still like I don't know. There's something. I have a thing for really crunchy games. It's why I like Fusion better than Super Metroid. because everything about Fusion is just so much crunchier and more satisfying because you get that extra oomph into everything. And when you get to Returns has such powerful impacts, and all the little things, the rumbling controller, when you hit an enemy you get that little in the screen, when you beat a boss everything freeze framed for like half a second. It gets you into this really like energized mood because of, if you've ever watched the Castlevania sequelitis, it basically amounts to the snack food part of what makes a game appealing. If that makes any sense at all. So, I really like what Returns did, because despite the fact that it is not necessarily the most interesting Kirby game,
a lot of the level designs are just really flat.
I was gonna say flat, and I dare say a little. I don't want to say bland necessarily, but I'll be honest.
The enemies are no threat, even for a Kirby game.
I got legitimately bored with Nutty Noon before I was done with that. Yeah, it's beautiful, but I got bored before I got to that boss rush. Anyway, with that all in mind, of course. You get to the end of that game, and the final boss, who, if you haven't seen it, go watch Thomas's Let's Play of Returns, which is blind and awesome. It was
blind!
Until the final episode, and it's awesome. But that is probably one of my favorite final bosses in, like, video game history. Because, again, it takes that concept of the crunch and, like, ups it to the max, and it's amazing. That's what I want out of a final boss, is that really satisfying, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god feeling, followed by, yes, take that, etc. And you get that kind of feeling out of actually fighting the Egg Viper in this game, although this was before crunch was really a thing that games concerned themselves with. But the Egg Viper is still quite nice. You move a couple games down in the list, and we get to like stuff like Super Mario 3D World, that is like one of the crunchiest bosses I've ever faced, if we're going by my definition of crunch here anyway. And, I have a thing for crunchy games. I'm doing a Let's Play of a crunchy game starting, I think, this Sunday. Probably by the time this is uploaded, like, tomorrow. Ideally, anyway. Crunchiness is just one of, like, my favorite things in a game. So Returns really stands out to me for being crunchy. Would you say Triple Deluxe also has that crunch to it?
It's better.
Oh, okay. Well, that you mean the crunch is better, or the game?
Literally everything is better.
Okay, then.
It's like Return to Dreamland if Return to Dreamland was better in every way.
Is it something along the lines of, to a lesser extent, Return to Dreamland, Amazing Mirror, or Kirby Returns Amazing Mirror? Not that good. Not that good.
Not that good.
Now, with that in mind, though, if they've remade Amazing Mirror running on something along the lines of Triple Deluxe physics and mentalities and whatever else, that would be considered, like, the best game ever in your mind, right?
Kirby the Amazing Mirror is already the best game ever.
Fair enough. So anything that would improve upon that would... Okay, I like it.
Yes. That is, Kirby the Amazing Mirror with multiplayer is the best game ever.
Yes. Wii U port...
No! How could they mess something that easy up? Just give the game multiplayer. Like, back in the Game Boy Advance games, there was a big thing where they could have 4 players doing things simultaneously. You saw this in games like Legend of Zelda 4 Swords, or whatever the hamster that game was called.
Mm-hmm.
And Kirby the Amazing Mirror was one of those games where it had 4 other Kirbys exploring the world simultaneously with you. And if you had a friend over, you could hook up your games, and they could explore with you, because it was a big, giant, open-world Kirby game.
Mm-hmm.
And having this freedom where you're not tethered to the other players was really amazing, and you can actually work together without having to work together, if you will.
That's what I always wanted co-op to go to, if that makes any sense. Co-op in games nowadays seems to be you guys are both just trapped in one area, and you have to both hit the door at the same time in order to move on. I'm looking at you, Resident Evil 5 and 6. But,
that was... they brought in multiplayer for Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland. And for you to go through a door, every other player playing had to be standing right on top of the door with you.
There's something about that to me it just seems like if you're gonna be offering the ability to have like this multiplayer experience, co-op should never be something to weigh down a player. And a Metroidvania game like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror anyway is probably one of the best situations to just go and have fun with this kind of free roaming co-op mentality. In fact, I think Metroidvania games lend themselves to multiplayer very well. And I'm surprised
as long
more
as they're
games...
done in that way.
Oh yeah. I mean in that sense of multiplayer, where you can work together and there are advantages to working together, or you could just cover a wider area, and that's a totally viable option as well. And I think more games would really benefit from something like that. And I think Amazing Mirror is like the only game to ever do that, right?
As far as I'm aware.
I mean, I'm sure there are some beat-em-up games or something that probably have you going where you please because, you know, 4-player online matches and all that. But Amazing Mirror is the only platformer I know of that ever dared to go to that corner, and it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Now here's the thing. You see, there is a bad Kirby game. You want to hear what it is?
Yeah, sure, bring it on.
It is Kirby Mass Attack.
Ah, yes.
You see, there's this game. It's called Scribblenauts. It has a very interesting concept where it's a DS game, and you can write in anything in the touchpad, and then it makes it. And you use this ability to solve various puzzles. However, there's a severe flaw with that game. You see, you control the character, Maxwell, in this 2D platformer environment by tapping the touchscreen where you want to go. This control scheme is terrible in a 2D environment. Maybe in an environment like Legend of Zelda, where you can freely move around in all 4 directions, it works. But for a platformer, it is probably the worst control scheme you could come up with.
Now, with that in mind, Scribblenauts, as an inherent game design, is more about what you create than what you necessarily do as a standalone character. So Scribblenauts is forgivable to a certain, not really kind of, but we'll say certain extent, because it doesn't need to have any more complicated controls than that.
Kirby Mass Attack, on the other hand, is a platformer where you control 10 characters at a time. And having that control scheme is terrible. It ruins the game for me. Basically, look at it this way. Whenever you tap on the screen, you create a little star. If you hold it down, all the Kirbys run over to the star. If you double tap, all the Kirbys will run towards it.
That seems like it's trying to be Pikmin and not.
But then get this. Alright, so you see, you double tap, and the star stays in place whether or not you hold it down. Once one Kirby touches that star, they all stop. So basically, if you tapped your star past, say, a crushing mechanism that will kill your Kirby instantly, you get one Kirby past the crushing mechanism,
and
it touches the star, and then everybody else stops. And you have to tap fast. And, you know, sometimes Kirbys will trip over, and sometimes they'll just be really stupid and not do anything.
This feels like they were trying to capture on Pikmin management, except A, it's in a 2D game, and B, why?
It's just, you know, I've heard a lot of people that say that they like the game, and there are specific aspects that I do like. For example, it has a very interesting selection of minigames to play.
I heard you once say that the minigames are the reason why you can tolerate at least owning that game.
Yes, indeed. They are literally the best part of the game. It also has some pretty solid music, including some remixes of the themes from Kirby Air Ride.
Which immediately makes it amazing in my mind, because I love that soundtrack. Does it have a remix of Light by any chance?
I believe so.
Okay, now I'm looking this up after we're done here.
But, yeah, other than the soundtrack and the minigames, the core gameplay is severely flawed, and basically ruins the playing of the game for me.
And even with that in mind, I'm assuming that when you say it is the worst and only bad Kirby game, it's still miles ahead of, for example, what Sonic has had to put up with over the years.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Like, Kirby Mass Attack has flawed core gameplay, but at least it has some other good things going for it.
Whereas some Sonic games, all you can say is, oh, the soundtrack is nice.
Yeah.
And you can't even say that about Sonic Labyrinth, so,
Yeah.
or Sonic Chronicles.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, has there ever been a Kirby RPG?
The closest that they got was a mini-game in Kirby Mass Attack.
Oh. And that one boss in, was it Superstar, I think?
Yes.
Yes. Although that was more just a joke boss based on the concept of RPG, which, for the record, is really creative.
Oh yeah, that was an awesome boss. In fact, there are actually 2 versions of that boss.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's the version that you fight in Great Cave Offensive, which has a slime, a puppet, and a witch. And then a version that you fight later on in Milky Way Wishes and the Arena, which starts with the witch and then ends up with you fighting a dragon.
Yes, I remember that. That's where Banana Shoes came from.
I guess so.
In Game Grumps, that's where they sang about Banana Shoes, was in the part where they fought the dragon.
I don't watch Game Grumps.
Well,
Austin.
neither do I, but I listen to Banana Shoes, like, religiously. You know, when I actually have a laptop to listen to it on.
So, yeah, we're almost done here.
That was actually pretty decent timing with wrapping up the combos and whatnot. By the way, I like the fact that we haven't even put any thought into the fact that this is just a solid F. Like, 1 F for this entire... Yes, I like it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else can we talk about?
For some reason, I can't aim at Froggy.
The
There
true
we go.
secret is to not aim.
So yeah, that was Kirby's story, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you've enjoyed it. Kirby did many important things in this game, like be better than Big.
Go on and get out of here. I'll do the rest.
Okay.
For the
But-
record, I think the one really funny thing about all this is that Sonic's character here is probably more accurate to what he actually acts like than, you know, when we watch Sonic's story. So that whole chaos, not again. Could this be the same fierce? Like that sort of slow talk. I think that's sort of big, like inserting some stuff in there. But I really actually like how they handled that. Anyway, sorry,
Alright,
go on.
But get this. Alright, so we just fought Chaos 6. In fact, Sonic is still fighting him over there.
Apparently.
And then there's the tornado over here. And it has a Chaos Emerald in it. Literally, the 7th Chaos Emerald is right behind Dr. Robotnik.
And he doesn't even know it. I love it.
He's just like, wow, Robotnik, fail. You had the 7th Chaos Emerald, just throw it into him, it's right behind you. But then, Big does the only useful thing in his story and takes it away.
Just imagine if Chaos got the 7th Chaos Emerald right there. I mean, like, would we just have this entire blowing up sequence and then suddenly this water dragon pops out? Hey
Yeah.
guys, making this my fortress now. Maybe he turns into like a Transformer Gundam type thing, where he's just wearing it as a body armor. That would have actually been quite cool. But anyway, here we go, awesome music done.
Yep. So Austin, thoughts on Big's story?
Fail, Sega. However, with that said, Big was created specifically for 2 reasons. Number one, they were trying to sell a Dreamcast exclusive peripheral at the time of his at the time of Adventure's production, which would involve, I don't remember what it was actually called honestly, but it was for a game called Sega Bass Fishing, which would involve you fishing for bass. And it was this really awkwardy kind of controller that would almost, I don't remember exactly how it worked out, but it's the equivalent of trying to like market a PlayStation Move, but for like 2 games. And so, with that said, however, people have tried playing Big Story with this thing, and his fishing controls actually work a lot better with this pad thing. And the reason is, Big was built on the beta mechanics for Sega Bass Fishing. So, to experiment with, you know, fishing mechanics in general, they just threw him into a Sonic game because it was a way to test the waters, I guess you could say.
Literally.
Yes. And so they tested the waters for a little while, experimented around a bit, and came up with this, which is really quite cool. With that said, that is no excuse for Big being in this game. He controls like a tank. He has power-ups that pretty much do nothing. He was a thorn in my side on getting the finished, whatever you call it, ranks, like the A-rank missions, which we haven't talked about yet, but we'll get to them later. And overall, it's just, no, Big, no. Go home, you're fat. I don't know. It's interesting, too, because Big is the most unfinished game, but it's not necessarily the, I wouldn't say worst thing ever to hit Sonic. Anyway, Sonic Labyrinth, Sonic Chronicles, no. Anyway, with that said, however, the other reason why Big was created was because Iwata, I believe it was Iwata. No, not Iwata. What's his name? Iizuka. Iizuka said that he wanted a character in the game who was willing to take his time. Now, I thought Amy fulfilled that role pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
This is why, I believe it was Summer of Sonic 12. I think it was Summer Sonic 12. But during an interview with Iizuka and I believe Naka, Iizuka basically were both asked, like, what is your biggest regret from all of your years working at Sega? I don't remember what Naka said. I think at one point he said, well, I contemplate saying leaving the company. But anyway, Iizuka, when he's asked, he says, well, Big the Cat. This is his biggest regret, and he's been, like, in charge of everything at Sega since, like, Sonic Adventure. Or in charge of everything at Sonic Team, I should say, since Sonic Adventure. That's a bad sign!
Yeah. Though I would like to note,
Do it.
Big the Cat is not terrible everywhere. The comics actually make very good use of him.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the first time that he appeared in Sonic comics that I saw, he was absolutely hilarious. I loved his appearance there.
The writers, especially now, can really play with his character a lot.
So yeah, if you want to see Big doing something funny, read the comics. Otherwise, burn him.
I will say, Big's appearances in Heroes and Secret Rings are not terrible.
Big's appearance in Heroes, well, he's kind of one of the more annoying characters to listen to.
This is why I don't like Team Rose. We get one whiny fangirl who narrates everything she does. We get the really high-pitched Cream before they kind of slightly lessened the pain of listening to her voice. I actually like her 4Kids voice actor better for that reason. And then we get Big. But Big is such a joy to listen to. Out of everything in Big's story, my favorite part, the reason why I don't mind going back through Big's story is the dialogue. Because he's so funny.
I see.
Sure smells like it.
It's like, ah, that's so cute! But then they take it to such a great extreme in Heroes. When you get there, I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well,
It makes me tolerate Cream. Anyway, go on.
until then, this has been Let's Play Sonic Adventure Part Big. We'll see you next time when we start playing as a better character.
How fitting that it's actually a big part, too.
Goodbye.
Bye.